welcome to my car. And if this is your first time tuning in, my name is Mana. Nice to meet you. I'm grateful you're here. So we're on our way to Dad's. I am drinking nettle leaf tea, herbal tea, with 𝒌𝒏 in my glass jar. Hopefully you won't get too much road noise. Started out my day with a little yoga play, a walking of the dog, because we got to get the walk on. It's a gorgeous day here in the Sunshine State of Florida. And there's so much to be grateful for. So my real reason here is to share some things that I am especially grateful for in my life. Number one, first and foremost, I am alive. I have the breath of life. I am grateful that I exist. I am grateful for everything I have experienced in this life that has brought me to this moment right here, right now, because every single thing, good, bad, the best, the worst, the beautiful, the ugly, have all contributed to my growth, my evolution, my life, death, rebirth, all of it. I don't discount a single thing that I have experienced in this life. And the main reason is because I realize that there has been so much that I'm lucky to be here, that my angels are clearly working overtime. And I was reflecting this morning, a memory popped in from when I was 17 years old, about to start my senior year in high school. It was the summer of 1991. I was in a small pickup truck with two of my friends, one of my best friends from childhood, Holly Nicknair. Sorry if I revealed your name and you didn't want to hear that. And Eric, I think it was Eric Blanchette, was driving the truck. Was it Eric? I think so. Anyway, if you're tuning in, you'll appreciate those. So we were up on the back side of one of the mountains, the hills, whatever you want to call it, and he was driving the car. I was in the middle. It was one of those small pickups, not your normal big size pickups, a Toyota. And I was in the middle, and I didn't have a seatbelt across my waist. This was in 1991. So seatbelts weren't always like one of those things. Like nowadays, everybody's got to be wearing your seatbelts. Holly was on my right. Eric was driving. We were coming around a turn, and he said, "Think we can make this turn?" And he was joking around and kind of swerved the wheel like he didn't seem confident in his driving ability. And unfortunately, there was a car coming in the other direction. So when he did that, it ended up being that instead of going into the curve and hugging it, we went off to the side of the road. Now, the part I'm grateful for is the telephone pole that he hit. Because had he not hit the telephone pole, we would have gone over the embankment and the truck would have rolled. But that wasn't the first. There's another part of that. I'm also grateful because he hit the telephone pole that I extended my right leg, because if both of my legs had been bent, I would have launched through the windshield and gone shooting out of the vehicle. And it dawned on me this morning. I was reminding myself how fortunate I am to be alive today, that back in 1991, oh my gosh, we are now in 2021. That was 30 years ago, people. I'm 47, and I might not be here today. In fact, there are forces greater than I that ensured that I am here today. That would have totally devastated my parents. And I know because my right leg extended and I've had hip issues ever since. If it wasn't for my right leg being straight, I would have gone through that windshield, because I did leave an indentation in the windshield from my head launching forward and coming back. There was hair from the windshield. My hair was in the windshield. I had glass in my a little bit up in here. Yeah. And it dawned on me that, there are things in life where we're parallel realities, that I might not have been here in another reality, that I had gone through that windshield. And that's humbling. That is recognizing my humanity. Yeah, that could have been the end of Lana Labonte. So it's the little things in life that when you really reflect upon all of your experiences, sometimes you don't even know that there are forces unseen watching over you, taking care of you, ensuring you are safe, protected, guided, whatever it is in your life. You are here for a purpose. You have an important role, no matter how grandiose, no matter how small. And I say this because I've known since I was a little girl that I've been watched over. And I was thinking about how when I called my mom, I have angels, and I have 2 names. And I only ever shared them really with my mom, because who's going to believe me, this silliness, right? And it's not something I share with a lot of people, and I will keep it to myself. But the 2 names just dropped in. One time when I was much younger, and then the second time, the second angel, their name was revealed to me when I was living in Naples, Italy. And I think those were at times, especially when I was going through some significant things, and especially in Naples, Italy, I was going through a major life transition when I lost that job. If you didn't watch last night's video, I shared a little bit about that when I was in a toxic work environment. And see, the thing about life is if you don't make the change and you keep trying to run from up here, your mind is the one running the show, your ego won't let go, then this is what suffers the most. When you drop into the heart and you tap into your wisdom, so tap into the essence of your soul, you flow. Everything works out in your favor, even if it doesn't seem like it in the time, but opportunities are presented to you and you recognize them. It's all about aligning to the flow of your soul and really trusting within and not going without. Now, that's all easy for me to say if you're not already on that path. It's challenging to hear that because, my old mindset when I was back in the day was, how dare you tell me? Don't you understand? And I would go into a victimhood mentality. I would go into you don't know what my situation is. You don't know what I've been through. Who are you to tell me? Like, that was my ego. My ego would be like, I am a victim of my circumstances. Although I would never say I was a victim because that would make it sound like I was weak. But I was actually demonstrating my weakness by placing the power outside of myself, when in reality I had control. I had control over my emotions, my responses, the actions I took, my thoughts, but I wasn't keeping them under control. I was allowing them to control me. So it was very humbling to sit with a lot of the things I've been through in my life. And again, I'm grateful, because if it wasn't for those experiences, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't be able to recognize things outside of myself without having recognized them within. That, as I was having a conversation earlier about, people don't realize shadow work is not letting your shit own you unconsciously, blindly being led by these old programs. If you have addictions are unconscious. Until you gain awareness of them and what it is at the root of them, because we only seek to have something fixed as a mask, as a Band-Aid, that there's a pain even deeper than the addiction we're trying to numb out with. So we can look for ways to numb and soothe, or we can choose to really just feel that freaking pain. And the more we're willing to feel the pain won't run the show. we won't be trying to numb it all out, because when you numb the pain, you numb the joy. You can run, you can hide, but it is always there with you. Why not befriend it? Why not let it become your strength? That's the transmutation. That is the shadow work. Not allowing your deepest fears, your deepest desires, whatever it is you're ashamed of, be hidden. When you own it all, it doesn't own you. And that's what I speak of, because I've had to learn with humility. I'm not perfect, but I am perfectly me. And we can only know another as deeply as we know ourselves. So if you're trying to avoid yourself, if you're trying to avoid any aspect of yourself, you're going to deny any aspect of yourself, it's going to show up in people who show up to you. And you can poo-poo and get all angry about how they behave, but the truth is that's an aspect of you that you're denying in yourself. So someone shows up to you and you don't like them because of whatever your excuse, whatever it is your reason. It's not about them, that's about you. And that has been my journey, my path. Wow, that person's showing me my shit. And that's beautiful. Because if I didn't know it was existing in myself, how was I going to see it in another person? So you can say, I don't like this person or that person because of the way they behave, but it's actually denying that aspect of yourself. So when you sit with the fact that today is Thanksgiving and most of us are spending it with friends or family, especially family, family is your biggest teacher. If you can sit with your family without judgment, untriggered, you know you've done the healing work. But family's the one that gets under your skin the most, isn't it? I know for me, I know my truth. I know that my family has taught me more about myself and what I want out of life, more so than I could ever learn by myself. And obviously I chose my family and they chose me, and this was a contract and all of that beautiful stuff about life. I'm very blessed that my family is as close as it is. I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm very protective of my family. I love my family. They may get under my skin, but I'll defend them still, because loyalty in my family, yes, I'll call their shit out. They'll call mine out. That's the way life should be. You should be able to love someone and still be able to hold them accountable at their highest, but not try to fix or change them either. Because love is truly allowing another to be and have their journey, have their experiences, not trying to fix them to suit your needs or to get them to show up to you the way you wanted them or want them to show up to you. That's not love. That's conditional. That's ego. That's not the heart. The heart wants to be happy. It's the head that gets in the way and leads you astray. The head wants to be right all the time. And we need to be able to master our minds so we don't end up being mastered by our minds. So with gratitude I'm heading to my father's, because my father is the chef of the family. And tomorrow is my mother's birthday. So my mother would have been 67 tomorrow. And my father and my mother, up until, after they got divorced, the two of them would fight over, because I think, to be honest with you, Thanksgiving was the favorite holiday of our family. Yeah, Christmas is okay. But no, Thanksgiving was the big one for us. Because Dad was always trying to perfect the German cheesecake. And he was the chef of the family. And he would do the big honey ham with the pineapples and the maraschino cherries, and the big turkey stuffing with liver and breadcrumbs, and the sweet potatoes and the cabbage, like big to-do, big spread of Thanksgiving in my house. And, of course, the cranberry sauce, because the way that I used to like my cranberry sauce was with my turkey, and Dad's gravy was perfect, too. And the mashed potatoes, He would use the old-fashioned masher with lots of butter, garlic, salt, pepper. Perfect. And, you know, a lot of times you think that the mother is the one that prepares from the heart, but my dad, that's one blessing. I know when he prepares food, that's his expression of love. And him being an only child of my grandmother, she was the chef of the house too. And my dad, that's his way to show love, is how he prepares food. And we were speaking about it yesterday, about how my grandmother, you know, she'd only make and prepare certain meals during certain times of the year. And one of our favorite things we were agreeing upon was that she made this apple cake that had walnuts, apples, I'm pretty sure raisins, and I said maybe dates, but I'm not 100% sure. But it was the most delicious apple cake, so moist. And she would cut it up in little squares so that when we lived in Maine and she was in Massachusetts, she'd send us a tin with it separated with parchment paper, all done up for us, and that was always my favorite thing. And I remember one time, it was probably summer, and I said, Grammy, will you make your apple cake? Because that was my favorite food that she made. She had a lot of different things I loved. And she would say, it's too hot. We don't cook in the sun. We don't bake in the summer. And she was very seasonal with her preparations. Another one of my favorite things that she would make was kale soup with kielbasa. She would make this specialized kale soup with linguiça or kielbasa. It's very Portuguese. It would have barley in it, and that was another one of her specialties. And so when I look past, you know, our family gatherings, I mean, my mother was the middle of 9 children, and they're all up in Massachusetts. And the hardest thing about moving out of Massachusetts in the late 70s, 1979, 1980, we moved up to Maine because the crime was really bad in Boston, so my parents wanted us to have a safe childhood. So they brought us to the countryside. Houlton, Maine is the last exit before you hit the Canadian border on 95. And I used to joke about that and say, why couldn't you be a little closer to family at least? That was like a really long travel. And I'm actually very grateful that we moved out there for some reasons, and then there were some things that weren't so kind and nice about being in a small town. Small towns, people know your business or think they know your business. There's a lot of rumors. There's a lot of assumptions, and the small town mentality is not always so kind or inviting to outsiders, people from other walks of life or other towns. If you didn't grow up there all your life, sometimes you were always an outsider. But the one thing, and my parents both agreed, the reason we moved up there, my dad bought the building where he used to have his pizzeria sub shop, and we had the house out in the country, and we had, I think, 25 acres of land, and we had a cow, we had a bull, we had a pony, we had chickens, we had a goat. Yeah, it was a mini farm. So I tell people I grew up on a little mini farm when I was a little girl, and I would take my dad's tools, the wood, and I would go up in the tree, and I would build a tree house. So I had built a tree house, and that was my favorite thing to do. Is I love to build, I love to create, I love to ride my bike. It's kind of tomboy-ish. I would wear my hair tucked up underneath my ball cap. I would wear one of those, you could wear it as a skirt, but I would pull up my halter skirt, it was long, and then put a belt around my waist, and I was all out there up in a dress, and it was just a really connected to nature childhood. And so my sisters and I would put on theater presentations. We created our own, our plays. Me and my 2 sisters, Lita and Lori, we would put on plays for my parents. We designed the set. We designed our costumes. We used to dress up in my parents' clothes. I would never forget, we got dressed up as the fat ladies of East Hodgson. And we did the play at The Witches of East Hodgson. kind of comical, actually, when you think about some of the things that kids come up with when they're child, the imagination, right? But my sisters and I were close. So, again, it's these little things that you can reflect upon, and the memories that are endearing, and the melancholy, what you miss, but what you can still hold dear to yourself. So I'm very grateful for the childhood I had. Now, when my parents split, my dad decided to go back to school, so he came back down here to Florida. My grandmother moved from Massachusetts down to where I'm heading right now. My dad's in my grandmother's old house. She bought it in the 1980s. And so we would spend the summers down here with her and there's a pool at the house, so of course the pool was for us kids. Yeah, and I'm very grateful because, again, you got to look over your life and count the blessings. Because if you're not reflecting on all the goodness in your life, it's really easy for the little things to take over. And to be truly honest, you have to look and say, there's a whole lot more to be grateful than they're obligated and obliged to show up to gatherings that sometimes you don't want to go to. You have two choices. You can go and shift your vibration in a way that you're going to find the blessings in the opportunity of going, or don't go at all. Don't go where you feel it's going to knock you off your highs and put you in your lows. And the reason I say this is because you got to trust and know you. If you're just doing it out of like this resentment factor of, I'm doing it because I have to. I'm doing it because I'm expected to. I'm obliged. I have to do this. That's the martyr. The martyr never wins. The martyr actually creates so much of its own suffering. The martyr is like in the victimhood mindset. The only way you're going to win at the game of life is if you start playing with it. And I mean playing nicely. Like, look in the mirror and go, I'm going to make this fun. I'm going to have so much fun. I'm going to make everybody want to have fun with me. If you listen to Abraham Hicks, get in the vortex. If other people are miserable, don't jump down to their level. Don't fall. Lift them up. Bring them up to your level. Find ways to be fun, humorous. Laughter is the best medicine. It truly is, because that's what connects with the heart. And you have to be very cautious and careful about humor, because not everybody finds the same things funny. Sometimes my sister and I have these conversations. My dad is trying to be funny, and he'll say something that she doesn't find funny, or maybe I don't find funny, because he's trying too hard. If you're trying too hard to be funny, that's out of discomfort for yourself, and you're just trying to upset the environment to try to create some sort of a stir. And sometimes that can come from those places of oppositional defiance. Look that one up, where you're just trying to poke and provoke people because that brings people down as opposed to lifting them up. So you got to be really attentive and know thyself well. Are you one of those people that finds humor in putting others down? That's not kind. How can you inspire others through your inspired living? That's what life is about. Can you lead by example? Show others, illuminate their best qualities as opposed to downplaying them and pointing out little weaknesses, those jabs, those nasty things. Like this time to come together with family, you may have a family member that's the negative Nancy or the nasty uncle, whatever. Whoever they are, they have pain that they're operating from. And when you're aware of your pain, you won't let the two connect and rub each other. Because when we're triggered, that's our work to do. So if someone is upsetting you with their behavior, step back and take a deep breath and go, is it really about me, or is that other person the one that's in pain? Are they ever doing anything to me? No. It's how you allow them to affect you. Nobody ever does anything to us that we don't allow them to. It can feel like we can assume, we can use disempowering languaging and say, you made me feel this way. But that's very much the victim mindset. That's very much the disempowerment. That's handing your power over to the other person and saying, you made me feel this way. Please, you have control. Anything that triggers you has control over you. What you don't master will master you. That's why it's so important to master your domain. It's very important to gain control over your emotions, to be able to regulate, to not get flippant with others just because they're behaving badly. One wrong does not equal another wrong. Two wrongs makes both people wrong. So why not be the better person? Be the higher power. When you recognize the other person is behaving badly, you have the opportunity to be the higher person, to elevate the situation. But you have to be in awareness of it first. You have to be in awareness of how it's affecting you and to not let it take you out of your peace. And that is when you know you are healing, that you are growing and evolving, because karma is buying into and continuing to behave the same way you would have behaved from the triggers and the unhealed, unresolved pains. When you react, that's karma setting you back. When you respond with patience, compassion, taking a deep breath, take your time. Nobody's in a rush here. Nobody said you had to respond right away. It's up to you. Because when you demonstrate better behavior and you catch them off guard, because a lot of times they're expecting you to continue to behave the same way. And family is the biggest teacher on this. And when you can go away, you can learn all this stuff, you can do all the classes, the workshops, the events, the teacher trainings, the whatever, Date with Destiny, Unleash the Power Within, Bob Proctor. You can read all the self-help books, personal development. But until you integrate that and you actually apply that, you haven't done it. It's real easy to say, I've done the work, I've healed, I'm this person, I'm self-righteous, I'm empowered. But when you put it into action, that's when you know. The wisdom is in the integration. Now it's a part of you. And until it's become a fiber, part of the fiber of the thread of your beingness, it's still work. So it doesn't have to be a life sentence. You don't have to suffer. It's a choice. It's a choice to be right, which is the head, or a choice to be happy and be in gratitude for the opportunity to show others the best side of you. Because we don't really want others to see the ugliness within us. So if you know your ugliness, you own that, and instead of responding from that place, you integrate and allow yourself to be in awareness of it, then you don't have to be it. And it won't run the show. It won't control you. And that's when you know you're healing your karma and living in your dharma. Because all karma is old patterns and behaviors that are running unconsciously in your subconscious, instead of you mastering your domain and living in your dharma, which is behaving better. And every single day we have an opportunity to do better, because when you know better, you can do better. That's what it's about, living this life from a place of gratitude and devotional prayer. Your life is your medicine. We are each other's medicine. We are coming together at all times, unlocking each other's codes. We are ciphers, unlocking each other's codes. Coming together is remembering, reconnecting that God source energy that we are all part of. We're not separate. The more we're recognizing this and just being it, the more we're contributing to the world at large. So let this be a day where you allow people to be who they are and love them where they're at. Give them permission, and also give yourself permission to be you. Be you truly, authentically. Connect to your inner self, your satnam, your truth, your identity, Allow your inner child to come out and play, and inspire other people's inner children to come popping out too, because I think this is the kind of day I feel that is really here. An opportunity to play. And because my dad likes to cook, I'm really looking forward to what he has prepared. Not in judgment, not in denial, but knowing that my dad, when he prepares food, it's coming from his heart. And that's how he shows love. That when he prepares something, he wants to see the smile on my face and the joy that comes across it when it goes in my mouth and down into my belly, because that brings him joy. That is the synchronicity and the reciprocity of life, that through giving we receive the blessing of the experience, that he did it from a place of love and he gets to receive the reciprocity of love through seeing it in action. That's love in action. Someone prepares something for you, and you enjoy it, and you show them the gratitude. That's what Thanksgiving is about. So no matter what is going on in your life, see if you can be present to the gift of it. There's so much to be appreciated and lived in every moment. I love you so much. Remember to tell those closest to you how much you love them and how much you appreciate them. Keep your circle tight. Remember the sacredness in small. You don't have to have everybody in your circle. Tight circles are sacred circles. Lots of love to you and your family, your furry ones, your friends, and all of the world at large. Say a prayer. Everybody deserves to be happy and to have the basic needs met. Live this life fully and richly and enjoy every bite, people. Lap it up, love it up. Rainbow palette of flavors. Happy Thanksgiving. Lots of love from my heart to yours.